So here we go, guys. It's the Scottish Saloons and Sports Car Championship on a damp knockhill racing circuit in reverse direction. Let's see who's going to come out on tops in this one. A decent field of cars. We've actually got 13 cars entered for today. And as we can see, away for their green flag lap. The only class in Scotland that is getting a green flag lap, and that is because they have the option to run on slicks or wet weather tyres. So they get an extra lap just to go out there and warm the tyres up if anybody has chosen to. Well, somebody choosing to stop in the middle of the track. Ron Cumming there. That's not good. So we go from 13 to 12. But just continuing on, if you have chosen to run on the slick or wet weather tyres, you do get an extra lap just to put and generate that little bit more heat into the tyre. So Ron Cumming, what a bit of a disaster for him there. He didn't have a good qualifying. In fact, he qualified dead last, stone last. Will Robson was the man who came out in pole position for qualifying ahead of Andy Forrest, with Vic Covey Jr. returning in his Mini R53, getting third overall, ahead of Andrew Morrison, Scott Toland, and the next Mini was Paul Wilson, not Ollie Mortimer. So, Ollie, well, there you go. He has been wanting some, shall we say, competition all year, and it looks like he has finally got some, but it's taking us to September to bring it to these guys, and it's getting brought in the shape of Vic Covey, and whatever shape that may be. It's a lovely shape to have Vic back. And he will be lining up in his yellow Mini, just rolling up towards his grid slot just now as the luckless Ron Cumming gets kind of shepherded down the tri-oval there. Bit of a shame for Ron Cumming. He's not needing that. He's not had the greatest season, shall we say. He has had quite a few things go wrong, and one massive accident at this corner here when we saw him just misjudge an overtaking manoeuvre. Was you saw the luckless Cumming ending up upside down on the hairpin there. So his car has now been made safe down at the tri-oval, and we'll hope to see Ron back. He does sometimes share a car with Scott Duthie, and as Scott Duthie is in this race, he just leaves the hairpin there in his BMW Z3. So Scott Duthie sometimes does the honourable thing of giving Ron Cumming his car, which is a very nice thing to do as Andy Forrest comes through Clark's just now. This is the green flag lap for these guys, and they're warming their tyres up just now. You could see Andy Forrest was away like a scalded cat, though, trying to really generate some heat into those tyres, but also a great attempt to get a proper braking marker into the hairpin for the first time of asking. So he really lit it up off the start line there, charged in towards a hairpin, and just basically seen what it's like, because the next time he does that, he will probably be leading the race after the start down to the hairpin. So he wants to know he's got that braking marker absolutely nailed. And there's a grid there for you. Andy Forrest from Will Robson, Morrison and Covey Jr. with Wilson and Toland. Bit of a power difference there between the Mini and the Cosworth. Stuart Buchan, Ollie Mortimer, Scott Duthie as well. It's great to see Scott Duthie here after the troubled year he's had, with Paul Rankin in beside him as well. Andrew Patterson, Lowell Forsyth and the luckless Ron Cumming, who won't be taking the start. So the red light's now starting to come on. We've got 4 red lights, a full complement of lights. Let's see if Forrest can make that zero car overhaul Will Robson on the way down towards the hairpin for the first time of asking. And yes, it would look like it was a pretty good start as we go on board with Ollie Mortimer. And well, that's what you can see, ladies and gentlemen. A whole face full of Paul Wilson and spray as we see Forrest leading through the hairpin there from on board Ollie's car, as everybody else tippy-toes through the corner and makes their way out of the hairpin towards Clark Corner now. Let's pick the guys up as they come into Clark. Here goes Forrest flashing through our screen there, and that looked like Scott Toland was into second place. And if that's the case, that's a very impressive start for Scott. He's ahead of Andrew Morrison and Covey Jr., and he was alongside that man there in the red Mini. What's happened to Will Robson? Will started on pole position, and he's just drifted away back into the mid-pack as Forrest leaves McIntyre's. This is such an important series of corners as you come up through Duffus Dip. Leslie's in the top of Duffus Dip there. If you can get a good run through there, that's really starting an overtaking chance for you as you come onto the straight here at Knockhill. Not a long straight, but you can get a chance to draft up behind somebody and possibly have a manoeuvre at the hairpin as Andy Forrest makes his way through the hairpin. Andrew Morrison has now slithered his way up ahead of Scott Toland, and Will Robson is trying to get back past Paul Wilson. And Vic Covey just ahead of Wilson, and behind the pair of them, rather shockingly, is this man. We're on board with Ollie Mortimer. Edinburgh remaps, Ollie Mortimer Racing as we come round towards Clark's. Now, Ollie's car does dance about a lot. He has it very nervous, pointy and on the nose. This car really reacts to everything Ollie does with the wheel. Watch him as he goes into the chicane here. Down a gear, turns it in and just changes. Oh, there's contact at the front though between the Minis Oh, into the side, into the tyre wall. Paul Wilson into the side of Covey, then into the tyre wall. And Ollie would have got a grandstand view of that, but Paul Wilson went for a manoeuvre at the chicane. It's not really the greatest of overtaking places, but he thundered into the side of Vic Covey Jr. and then he bounced himself across the gravel trap at Butchers and made quite heavy contact with the tyre wall, and that's a very un-Paul Wilson kind of manoeuvre. That, got to say, he's always very well reserved, and a manoeuvre usually sticks when Paul does it. But, well, Vic Covey, welcome back. He will have had his shell rattled and his quarter rearranged with that one, as the yellow flag is at Clark's, because we will have a double waved yellow flag at the chicane, the next corner, as Andy Forrest goes through, chased by Andrew Morrison in his TCRC. Then the Cosworth of Scott Tolan, well, Robson is focusing, look at these two minis together. But yeah, I suspect there's a double yellow flags. That means that Paul Wilson will still be in that gravel trap as Vic Covey, goodness gracious me, comes through the chicane completely out of control. May I say, under waved yellow flags, not just singular, double Vic. So Vic being a bit of a naughty boy there, but maybe just getting caught out by the conditions. He's an experienced man, and we will let him away with that one, but heart in the mouth stuff there. So the pressure maybe from Ollie Mortimer getting to Paul Wilson and Vic Covey, as Mortimer right underneath the back bumper of Vic Covey Jr. as they head towards hairpin. He tries to, what he's trying to do there is try to do the cutback on the way to hairpin, but you know, this isn't Vic's first rodeo. He knows every trick in the book that Ollie Mortimer's going to try and throw at him, and I would suspect that Vic will be able to hold him off as the leader goes through. Then second place goes through our screen as well. Third and fourth together now. Will Robson putting Scott Toland under a fair old bit of pressure down the back straight. Look at this, the two minis come through, brilliant. It's about time too that we see Ollie Mortimer having to work for it. He's trying to go underneath the chicane, but no, he thinks better of it because he saw what happened to Paul Wilson there, and Vic Covey very much more in control there coming through. After what we could call a rather topsy-turvy qualifying with the minis, it looks like it's about to be situation normal. Oh well, he's at the front anyway, he's near the front. Ollie Mortimer all over the back of Vic Covey as they go up the main straight underneath that Beatson's Building Supply Bridge, and here comes Mortimer. Covey's chose the inside, Mortimer's a little look across towards him. Down towards hairpin, battle of the bravest on the brakes here. Down they go, couple of gears, down 3 gears, turn it in, but Vic Covey must still be on the inside there because Ollie couldn't hit the apex. And there you see, classy bit of not defensive driving by Vic Covey, just putting his car exactly where Ollie wanted it to be. Vic certainly didn't slow him down through the corner there, but he took that inside line. I suppose it was a bit of defensive driving, but we'll let him off for that. The next two cars into Clark Corner will be the raging mini battle, and through they come. And if anything, Mortimer seems to have a little bit more on corner entry than Vic Covey at this stage of the race down to the chicane. Hold your breath moment here, because we've seen both minis have a big moment through there. One was Wilson, and the car's still there. And also Vic Covey had a big moment going through that chicane as well, where he kind of bounced it and went through a beautiful four-wheel drift. I've got to say, something that I'm pretty sure Ollie Mortimer would have been pretty impressed by, because he does a fair bit of drifting himself as they come onto the main straight now. Lights ablaze on the number 70 car. Right into the slipstream of Vic Covey Jr. He pops out to the right-hand side as he go past the circuit office. Again, though, he's on the wrong side here, trying to force Vic Covey, I would imagine, into a mistake. As he turns in, looks across there, and once again Vic Covey wipes the nose. Mortimer goes left, goes right, Covey chooses the left, Mortimer goes back to the right hand side. Absolutely nothing in these minis. The thing is, Ollie now, he's alongside him, but he is on the wrong side as he comes to Clark. This is a big brave manoeuvre. Can he go round the outside? Yes, he can. Brilliant stuff from Ollie Mortimer, and you can see him looking in the mirror, looks into the wing mirror, cheeky as you like. Vic Covey maybe doesn't force the issue just too much there, because that could have ended in what we class as curtains, as Andy Patterson comes through the shot there, and then we pick up with Andrew Morrison as well. But great bit of driving there from Ollie Mortimer to get himself ahead of Vic Covey Jr. Robson and Tolan side by side on the way towards the hairpin, and Scott Duthie, the man about to go a lap down, just ahead of them just now as well. Robson has got ahead now of Scott Tolan. Scott Tolan driving extremely well in these tricky conditions in that Cosworth, as the two minis now battle their way through, and actually Ollie Mortimer's put a little bit of time between himself and the ever-present Vic Covey. As we look further down, that Stuart Buchan And, well, yeah, he'll be a little bit lonely today because we don't see Fraser Jameson out there, do we? No, we've seen lots of Fraser Jameson this year and Stuart Buchan together as your race leader flashes through there, going past Lowell for Scythe, and also Paul Rankin now at the hairpin. And that's number 0, that's Andy Forrest, as he leads out of the hairpin and heads towards Clark Corner. You see the second place runner come through. The battle for third behind the BMW here. We just come through Duffy's Dip, the 2 white cars there, and then we get Scott Duthie way in the distance, and then the 2 minis. There's Mortimer, and there's Vic Covey Jr. Those minis, the corner speed for those minis have is pretty special and spectacular. As we go on board with Ollie, just have a little listen to this as he goes into the hairpin. And he turns it through the apex. Lovely bit of style from Ollie. Accelerates from the hairpin towards Clark Corner as Andy Forrest comes through the top of Duffy's Dip. Just adjusts the wing mirror as he comes up the main straight there, as he goes over the crest of the hill. It's been a pretty tricky race for this man. You could imagine the amount of spray that he's having to put up with, and also the temperature's not very warm out there. He will be absolutely freezing in that car. As Will Robson and Scott Tolan go past the stricken mini of Paul Wilson. But Paul will be back in the second race if he can get that fixed, because it did take quite a big impact into the actual tyre wall after careering across the top of the gravel trap into that tyre wall. Down to the chicane comes your race leader, and it is Andy Forrest. As he comes in, it's just all about hitting his markers now, and under a huge bit of pressure at the hairpin is Will Robson, so he's not pulled away from Scott Tolan. He is, if anything, he's dragged Scott Toland onto a bit of a faster time as Rankin and Forsyth come through the chicane. We wait for the next 2 cars to come into view there. Here we see Andrew Morrison in the lovely Seat that he has, the TCR car. And down the back straight come these 2 battling Fords. First the new style Focus, and then the older Escort Cosworth, the iconic Escort Cosworth of Scott Toland, which himself and Alistair McMillan put together, and pretty reliable little car that. Touchwood just now, Touchwood up through Leslie as they go and over the crest of the hill and onto the main straight here. As we go back on board now with Ollie Mortimer, and he's got a face full of BMW, and this is going to hold him up quite a bit here. Andrew Patterson in his E36 in the B3 class car. Look, Ollie doesn't know where to go. He goes left over the top of Duffus. That was a big manoeuvre, and he had to do that because you can see him looking in his mirrors all the way up straight, left, right, up, down, left, right. Make your mind up, Ollie. He's having a good look because Vic Covey must be right behind them as they come in towards him. But in fact, no, he's quite a bit in front, so Ollie obviously just enjoys looking at Vic in the mirror as they go along towards Clark Corner now. And Vic also managed to get past Andrew Patterson on his way through as the leader goes through the hairpin now. This is Andy Forrest onto his final lap as we see him. Now he's going to catch these 2 minis. He probably could catch them on this lap, but he will be well aware that they're battling for position as the 2 minis come through. Then we've got Andrew Patterson, and then we will have Andy Forrest. And Andy Forrest has backed off. You can see that quite considerably. He will just be wanting to bring this home now on this final lap as the rain starts to fall down harder here at Knocker Racing Circuit. Through goes Will Robson and Scott Toland, who is not letting Will Robson have an easy time of it, as the 2 minis now go up and over the crest of Duffus Dip. And look at the wind. The wind's really picked up as well. You can see those trees really blowing about. Something awful in the background there as the guys come up the crest of Duffus. And the camera here as well looks absolutely dreadful, as over the line to take a very well-deserved victory is Andy Forrest. He'll be absolutely delighted with that one in his Westfield. He's entered as a guest, so he doesn't actually score championship points, as this man coming down through Butchers now, Will Robson will finish in 3rd place because Andrew Morrison is ahead of him. There goes Andrew there as Lowell Forsyth has a big moment through the top of Duffus in front of him. Paul Rankin also crosses the line. Morrison comes home for a very well-deserved 2nd place. He'll be delighted with that one. Then we'll get Will Robson and Scott Toland. That's a pretty good drive from Scott Toland. Another man entered as a guest. And then we will have the raging mini battle, which right now is going in favour of Ollie Mortimer, and that will be the next car. Here he comes through the top of Duffus ahead of Vic Covey Jr. And those guys will chase it up towards the finish line for 5th and 6th place. Stuart Buchan will come home in 7th place. And that was a fabulous race here in rather tricky conditions. For your winner, Andy Forrest. Second place, Andrew Morrison. And Will Robson rounds out the podium for third. So here we see round number 11, all changed. Look at the lovely weather conditions we have now. What a difference it does make. Those tricky wet conditions which we had earlier on now sees a very dry knockout racing circuit, which means we will have some very fast laps here. These are technically the fastest cars that we have here this weekend. Over one lap, the lap times it can do is pretty sensational stuff, as we are right now going round warming up the tyres. Ollie Mortimer, well, he had a fair old fight on his hands in that first race. I gotta say though, the guys did make it that little bit easier for him when they tried to take each other out at the chicane. Well, not each other out, when Paul Wilson had a right good old go at the side of Vic Covey in that yellow Mini which is coming through Clark's just now. Covey managed to hold that all together, and he kept on going for a good second place in the Minis and a 6th overall. But unfortunately, Paul Wilson, you can see the marks through the gravel on the right hand side there. Yes, going in towards the tyre wall, bang there. But Paul Wilson, well, thankfully he has that car repaired, and he will be back out in this race as they come through McIntyre's and start to climb through Leslie's and onto the top of Duffy's Dip. So if race number 1 was anything to go by, we need to completely forget about how it panned out, because it was pouring with rain, very tricky wet conditions, and now we have a nice dry track here for race number 2 for these chaps. Ollie Mortimer comes round the top of Duffy's Dip. Little acceleration and then brake, and Ollie does like to throw that Mini quite sideways to try and either generate or scrub heat into those tyres. One of the things a front wheel drive car doesn't really do is heat up the back tyres extremely well. So the driver has to work fairly hard to get some heat into those tyres as the grid marshals now make their way off. Forrest from Morrison with Robson and Toland. Mortimer, Covey Jr., Buchan, Rankin, Lowell Forsyth and Andrew Patterson are the top 10 here, with Scott Duthie. Watch out for Paul Wilson in 27 and Ron Cumming coming through from the back off the grid. Now Ron Cumming, I did say earlier on, sometimes switches cars with Scott Duthie. What has Scott Duthie gone and done? He's given Ron Cumming the BMW again. What a lovely guy. Well done, Scott Duthie. Spirit of the Meeting Award heading your way in the future. The red lights coming on. There's 4. A full complement of red lights. Creeping from Toland and Morrison. And away we go, and it's Andy Forrest who gets a flyer, as does Scott Toland. Jumps into a tiny little gap along the pit wall, and Andrew Morrison and posts a little escort Cosworth up the inside of it. But look at that, there goes Will Robson into second place as Andrew Morrison has a bit of a slide going through the hairpin there. Ollie Mortimer, cheeky as you like, has a look at him now. What happened there? Scott Toland a bit slow, Mortimer trying to go alongside him. That Cosworth should have so much more power than this little Mini. As they get towards Clark's, Andy Forrest completely unaware that any of that's happening behind him because he's already checked out. There goes Will Robson in second place, then Morrison, Toland, and look at that, Lowell Forsyth having a look down the back straight at the inside of Vic Covey Jr., but Vic Covey trying to give him space and does. Forsyth with an excellent overtaking manoeuvre there, goes up the inside, and he'll be pretty delighted with that move as he got through there on the inside. Damage free. Vic Covey possibly saw that coming and decided discretion being the better part as we go on board with Ollie Mortimer. Scott Toland using a little bit of the pit exit or the pit entrance. Now that's okay as long as you don't use the painted bit at the end of it. If you start using that race direction, do have a little bit of a word in your ear and politely tell you to stop it. As through the hairpin comes Mortimer, and look at the speed of this little Mini, but then look at the speed of the Cosworth. Comes off now. I would have thought the Cosworth would have accelerated away just a little bit more than that, but Scott Toland maybe being a bit conservative with the boost. Having said that, it did really pick up its heels and disappear towards the end of the straight, didn't it? These Minis aren't slow, as they come through. Then behind Forsyth we've got Rankin, and look at that, Paul Wilson dives past Vic Covey Jr. without taking a big bite out the side of him this time, so that's impressive. Vic Covey Jr. right underneath the back bumper of Paul Wilson, and Paul Wilson looks racy in this one. And if anything, well, he'll feel a little bit hard done by. He's lost out on quite a bit of track time. Unfortunately, it was all his own doing. But as they go up over the crest of Duffy's Dip, Paul Wilson ahead of Vic Covey Jr. And Covey Jr. will have seen that, obviously. And he'll be thinking about having that place back as Forsyth now flashes past Ollie Mortimer onto the brakes. He goes that Lotus diving about a little bit. Ollie Mortimer getting extremely close on the brakes on the way in. Lord Forsyth's Lotus Exige looking just a little bit nervous on the brakes as he was going down there. But picking up some good speed here this weekend is Lowell Forsyth. And look at him, he's underneath. Now Scott Toland he was trying to go underneath as he exited Clark Corner. So Lowell Forsyth really on fire this weekend, and really it's great to see. Bubbling with confidence through the mid part of the season. And Andrew Morrison now right behind Will Robson as they go up Duffy's Dip and crest the hill, and on we go to another lap there. Look at Rankin in there as well, and Mortimer still the lone mini on his own, fending off the incoming Paul Wilson. And just look at the bonnet flapping about a little bit on Will Robson's car there. There's lightweight carbon fibre panels just fluttering away in the breeze as we go on board with Ollie Mortimer into the hairpin. Good apex from Ollie there. Hold her breath just a little bit as he does get through and accelerates towards, just stretching himself a little bit inside the car there. You can see that, as most racing drivers will notice as he heads towards Clark Corner. But down the back straight, Will Robson now under increasing pressure from Andrew Morrison, the veteran, the canny veteran in the Seat Cupra TCR car. Always here, always on form, on point, and cars immaculately prepared by Andrew and co. He's in the A2 class. Up Duffy's Dip he goes. Will Robson in the B1 class, so they're not racing in class structure, but it doesn't matter. Oh, low for size, whoa, big jump of the sausage curb, and that thing looped itself. Round he goes on the inside, and we can see him in the grass there. That's from onboard Mortimer as he drives past him, but Lowell Forsyth just takes too much of the curb, and will he get out of there? I would hazard a guess and say no. He will be stuck as Paul Rankin now has Mortimer all over him as they go through the hairpin, and Paul Rankin under huge pressure from Ollie Mortimer has a little bit more in the way of power to get away from the Mini, but Lowell Forsyth, just as we said earlier on, bubbling with confidence. And then unfortunately it bites him in the rear as he takes too much sausage curb coming through Duffy's Dip there. You can see that it really upset the car. There was a big bounce and the car landed sideways, and from that moment on, unfortunately Lowell Forsyth was a passenger as we have a waved yellow flag at Duffy's Dip there for the stranded Lotus Exige, which will be on the grass on the inside. But through comes, well, look at this, Scott Toland is coming back towards Paul Rankin and Ollie Mortimer as they go over the crest of Duffy's Dip. Lowell Forsyth's car still there, and Lowell, I would believe, trying to get going. Look at him, he's trying to get away from it actually. Fair play to him for getting that car even half moving, but it's not a place where you want to be going very slow because it's a quick exit from Duffy's Dip. As we see these guys going through the hip, and Paul Wilson alert has just flashed up on the screen there. The red Mini went through, the red 27 Mini has just gone through our shot there, and Ollie Mortimer will see that incoming, and Paul Wilson is absolutely flying. If I have a little look at our timing screens, a 58.2 second lap for him, and that's some 0.4 of a second faster on the last lap than Ollie Mortimer, so he's lapping around about half a second consistently faster than Ollie Mortimer's. Mortimer's now basically hemmed up behind Scott Toland. Mortimer's faster in the corners, and then Toland has got the legs on the Mini on the straight. As we come on there, you can see the Escort struggling with quite a bit of understeer as he comes onto the top of the straight there, and Paul Wilson homing up to the back of Mortimer as finally there's a big cheer from the grandstand as Lowell Forsyth gets going from the top of Duffy's Dip there. That was a monumental effort in that car on damp, wet, soggy grass to get going from there, as Andy Forrest, a man who we haven't really seen very much of, comes through the shot here and climbs the area where we just saw Lowell Forsyth lying in the dirt. Through, you can see the skid marks that he goes past here underneath the Beatson's Building Supply Bridge. He really has been a very welcome return As we can see the sparks coming off of that car as well, just where the front wing just dabbing the ground as he goes on the main straight there. But into McIntyre's, Toland, Mortimer, and look at this now, Wilson right behind Mortimer. Ollie has now got his hands very much full. He was slow through McIntyre. As you can see just how much Paul Wilson was catching up. Ollie will be looking in the mirrors quite quickly. There's a look in the right hand door mirror. Does he have a look in the top mirror? One would imagine he's on the main straight now as they come down towards the hairpin. Things getting pretty tight and tasty. Where's Vic Covey? Ah, there he is. Is Vic there? He certainly is. As we can see, Scott Toland disappearing at the front there. Paul Wilson all over the back of Ollie Mortimer here. And you could see him dancing about in his rear view mirror as well as Ollie turned in through the apex of the hairpin. As Paul Rankin flies into view at Clark Corner with a big gap back to Toland, and then the two minis. Look at that, that was maximum commitment going through there as they go down towards the chicane. Now Paul Wilson will be possibly a bit hesitant to go through there and have an attack because he landed in the gravel in race number 1 by doing exactly that as Mortimer takes a huge bit of curb, pops the mini onto 2 wheels, shows you just how hard he is now trying. And Wilson will be loving this because he's caught him. All he needs to do now is try and pass him, and if he can, let's see Ollie look in the mirrors in the straight here. There's a little look forward, eyes possibly glancing up. He knows what he's got to do as he goes over the crest of the hill, past the flag points now in the circuit office, in front of the hairpin grandstand. He's defending. He's on the left-hand side of the circuit. Paul Wilson goes to the right-hand side, tries to cut back through the apex, does Paul, but unfortunately that's not going to happen for him as they head towards Clark Corner. But Ollie Mortimer well and truly under fire now from Paul Wilson as Andy Forrest flies through our shot. And there's Ron coming. We haven't actually seen Ron in the Scott Duthie BMW, but it's good to get him flashing through our screen there as Scott Toland comes through. Then these two battling minis, and I'm very impressed all those floppy bollards still standing even at this late part of the race. As we come through there, Ollie Mortimer sideways through the exit. Look at that, slowed him down. He's lost all his drive, all his momentum as they come up the main straight now. And I did say earlier on, he likes his car on the nose. He likes the back to be a bit flighty. That's how you make a front wheel drive car quite quick, but also you've got to watch because too much of the sideways and it can scrub off a little bit of speed as he once again defends. Look for Paul Wilson in the rearview mirror. There he goes. He tries to once again go round the outside and cut back through the apex of the corner. Not to be. Once again, Ollie Mortimer manages to hold him off as they head towards Clark's. And these guys, well, they have raced together for a very, very long time. We should mention that as Stuart Buchan pulls off there. And was that a problem for Stuart Buchan? It looks like he was possibly heading for retirement, and that mini just pulled over to the left-hand side of the straight very, very quickly. And he hasn't come through camera shot, but what has come through camera shot is Mortimer and Wilson. Look at that. Mortimer defends at McIntyre's. Wilson looked like he was trying to go up the inside there, but Ollie made his move pretty quickly. And Paul Wilson has now set a new track record. It's flashed up on the screen for the R53 minis as they come onto the main straight. His 58.250 is a new lap record for the anti-clockwise configuration as they go over the crest of the hill one more time down towards the hairpin. This is where Mortimer defends again, and it's just exactly as it was the last time, although I think Wilson's right behind them this time, deciding not to try and squeeze through. As over the crest of the hill comes Andy Forrest, and he starts his final lap now as he goes down towards the hairpin. We pick up with Scott Toland, but we know what's coming in next. It should be two dueling minis, and here they come through Clark Corner, down the back straight towards the chicane. Lap and a half to go for these guys as we go on board with Ollie. Turns it in. Oh, that's just beautiful there. Barely any movement to get the car through the apex of the corner as it just floats over the apex. Oh, big sideways in the way, and there was that help from Paul Wilson. I don't think so, because he was on the wrong side to give him a tap. He looks to go through. They're side by side right now at toughest dip. No, it's not going to be. It's going to be Wilson who comes off second best. And does he lose quite a bit of momentum in that overtake, that attempted overtake? Well, that's a decent enough gap now for Ollie Mortimer to try and fend off, and Vic Covey will be watching this. Ruin the fact that he lost a little bit of time. You can see this time with the hairpin, Ollie not having to defend because he had that little bit of a lead, a little bit of a comfortable buffer over Paul Wilson as they head over the line. Andy Forrest once again takes a double victory this weekend. He'll be delighted with that one, as we will see Andrew Morrison should finish in second place in the number 54 car. But look at these two minis again coming through Clark Corner. This is the battle on the track. That's why we're staying with them down towards the chicane. Beautiful slide through the chicane by Mortimer. And that is absolute commitment on the last lap of the race. He could throw all the way here. He's sideways. Oh, now that's going to hurt him. That's going to make him slow and lame up the straight here. Where is Paul Wilson? You can see him in the rearview mirror dancing about, trying to get an oncoming slipstream onto the main straight as they come up towards the checker flag. Mortimer's just going to hold off the hard charging Paul Wilson for that one. Mortimer does take 6th and Wilson does come home for 7th. But it's a first and a second respectively in the minis. But that was full on warfare there. And let's not take anything away from Andy Forrest though. He's your winner from Andrew Morrison and Will Robson, with Paul Rankin and Scott Toland finishing ahead of the duelling minis of Mortimer and Wilson. Vic Covey comes home 8th, Ron Cumming 9th, and Andrew Patterson with Buchan and Forsyth both non-finishers after that.